Today we're talking about the brand new Nemo Equipment Hornet Elite OSMO 2-person ultralight backpacking tent. I just picked this up a few days ago, so this is 100% a first impressions, first look type of video. But is this tent worth $600 for a 2-pound ultralight backpacking tent? Let's pull everything out of the stuff sack here real quick. This is a roll top design stuff sack with a buckle, super easy to get things in and out of. But you've got your pole bag, and then you've got your stakes and guy lines that come in here. I've already put the guy lines onto the tent. But one of the first things that I notice about this is an ultralight focused tent, 2 pounds in weight, and the stakes that they give you are massively robust and super heavy weight. I'll absolutely be changing these out for something much lighter. And then the tent body and the rainfly all together. So let's get this set up and talk about, is this thing a $600 tent and is it worth it? Let's talk about the body of the Hornet Elite OSMO 2-person tent first before we put the rainfly on. This is a true semi-freestanding tent, meaning the pole structure does not go to all 4 corners of the tent. You've got a pole system that goes down to the head end for the 2 corners, and then a single pole that goes down to the center at the foot end, and then you have to stake it out for it to stand properly on its own. You've got their proprietary fly bar system that adds additional volume to the width of the tent on the inside. And dimension wise, in order for 2 people to effectively use this tent, you've got to have 2 20-inch mummy shaped pads for you to fit inside of this tent. But if you look at the body of the tent, it's got more of an A shape to it and more of a steep wall that comes up into a peak that really doesn't provide a lot of shoulder width and movement around for 2 people to effectively use this in a super comfortable situation. You've got a nice white mesh here that's going to add some additional privacy. The floor is made from their proprietary OSMO fabric. It's a very lightweight fabric with a 1200 millimeter hydrostatic head for the waterproof rating on it. The cool thing about the OSMO fabric is it's high performance. It's a blend of nylon and polyester fibers, which allows for less stretch on the fabric and also higher water repellency. And the cool thing about Nemo is they're always striving to be sustainable in their production processes. So you do have a sustainable product here with recycled materials, things that reduce the carbon footprint, which is really cool. I do not love that here on the stakeout points, you don't have any tensioners. You don't have a way to, when this thing does get wet, or if you're on uneven ground and stuff, for you to tension based off of maybe rocks on the ground that make it difficult to put a stake right there. I really wish that companies like Nemo and Big Agnes would get away from putting fixed loops on their stakeout points and give some more flexibility with some line locks for different pitching situations where you might have a bunch of rocks or things that require more than just a fixed loop for you to be able to stake the tent out. On the 2-person version here, you've got 2 doors, 2 vestibules to make easy entry for either side of the tent. The vestibule is a standard size. It's not anything to get overly excited about, but the door size and the entry into the tent is super easy. I do love how well these doors roll back super far to make easy entry into the tent, and the door falls inside, which is super nice. And it just is held back by their gatekeeper type of clip system that's super easy, not cumbersome at all. And the fly fabric is again made from that OSMO fabric in a 1200 millimeter hydrostatic head on the fly material as well. Now when I change out the stakes for the tent, it's going to reduce the weight even more for this double wall shelter that is truly an ultralight shelter. That's where I want to talk about some of the things on the inside and feature aspects that, I don't know, they're maybe a little bit lackluster for me for a tent like this at $600 price point. But I think it's important to keep in mind that this is an ultralight tent. So let's talk about what those features are on the inside of the tent. So now we're here inside of the tent. You've got 3 pockets that are inside here. You've got here on the side of the door, and then a second one on the door, and then you've got their nightlight pocket that's here at the top, but there's no other pocket systems inside of this tent. And that's something that, honestly, I like being able to get gear off of the ground, have other places to put stuff than just tossing it at the foot end of the tent or around all of the corners. And that's what I like about the Big Agnes tents with the inside of their shelters. The Tiger Wall and the Copper Spurs specifically have this really cool like net system that is like a big 3D open pocket here at the top of the tent that allows you to put stuff, but can understand why they wouldn't put that in here. And it also obviously saves weight to not put that in here. So I'm sitting here at the head end of the tent, and you can see I've got a pretty decent amount of peak height. I've got 39 inches total of peak height, but you can see the width of the tent with 2 people in here would not be ideal. You're gonna end up rubbing against the sidewall, potentially pushing into the rainfly. It's really not, in my opinion, a true 2-person tent. With only 40 inches of width at the head end, it's not something that's gonna be comfortable for 2 people if you're gonna be spending a lot of time in the tent. Having the 2-person version does add some increased space for a 1-person backpacker to use this, but my initial impressions are not for this to be ever used as a 2-person tent. But a couple big concerns for this tent for me are, what are the storm worthiness aspects to it? When you've got a pole structure like you have from this, that's similar to what you see on the Tiger Wall from Big Agnes, where you've got a 3-point system essentially. Head end has 2 anchor points and then a single pole that comes down. Like, how well is this going to do against heavy winds, heavy rain, snow load and such, when you've got stuff pushing down on the top? I mean, it's super flexible and it handles that pretty well for what the pole structure is. Even with guy lines in here, how is this as a true weather performance tent? Is it going to do what you need it to, or are you going to have a miserable experience from a tent that doesn't have as strong of a structure as other products out there? And at $600, I don't believe that this is the tent that I would choose for those extreme weather conditions, high alpine settings. This is something that I'm investing that money in for the simple fact of saving as much weight as possible while still getting a double wall shelter. So I think a really important question that you have to ask yourself when you're looking at the Hornet Elite Osmo as an option for your backpacking system is, I'm spending $600. Does this provide all of the check boxes of things that I need out of an ultralight tent? And if saving as much weight as possible is important to you, and having a double wall shelter is important to you, and you don't find yourself in extreme weather conditions, I think that this does fit the bill for those situations. But for something that adds a small amount of additional weight that is not quite $600, maybe a Tiger Wall UL2 as an option, maybe that's a better tent. However, I do want to focus on the performance from my experience so far of the Osmo fabric. The Osmo fabric truly is phenomenal. Being that polyester nylon blend, it allows for a ton of weight savings and increased weatherproofness to the fabric, as well as it doesn't stretch the way that nylon does. And that is the downfall to that Big Agnes Tiger Wall, is it's a full nylon shelter. So you do have that aspect of the nylon getting wet, stretching, potentially touching the inside wall of the tent, transferring moisture into the tent, getting stuff wet, all of those issues that you have with condensation. And so far, my experience with the Osmo fabric, primarily on the Dagger Osmo, is very, very positive. And so I think for that aspect, having the maximum weatherproofness does warrant this as a good option. But how does it compare to Dyneema? That's what we haven't talked about yet. There's so many awesome Dyneema shelters out there that are not that much more money than $600. For example, the Tarp Tent rainbow or the double rainbow in the lithium version, which is a Dyneema shelter. Now that does have a difference in the sense that it's a single wall tent at about 29 ounces of weight for the double rainbow. Is that a better option? And you'd have to ask yourself, how important is condensation management inside of the tent? If a single wall doesn't make sense for that, then looking at this as an option, I think does warrant this as a worthy option for you to choose from. But overall, if I had not won this, because disclaimer, I won this in a raffle. I didn't buy this myself. It was not given to me. I entered a raffle and I won this in the raffle. Had I not had that opportunity, would I still consider spending $600 to get this tent and put it into my fleet of tent of options for my backpacking trips? And to be honest, no. I do not think I would spend $600 for this, but I think my priorities might be different from somebody else that is looking for what this tent provides. So that's my opinion, but worth $600, maybe $500. I think I'd spend about $500 on this. That is my first look of the Hornet Elite Osmo. Thanks for watching today. If you're not subscribed, you know what to do. Hope you have an awesome day. See you later.